Shalom, this is Sophia Spiritualite, your friendly neighborhood Shuman, and I just want to do an update video to this spiritual spouse issue and kind of wrap it up and give an update on how my sort of thing that I did to kind of identify and correct this situation for myself went, so that I don't leave anybody hanging, and also like I can basically prove from my own experience that this was not something that was done in vain. So because I went back and I re-listened to my video 1 that I put out after my video 2 with my story in it. And so as I mentioned, I did something like a cord cutting kind of thing at the last new moon of the year, and then the first full moon of the year, which was a lunar eclipse. I actually did a right burner release, and so from that point, it things didn't change right away because this was like right around our new year. So I didn't really notice too much difference, right? And I really didn't even realize that this was all related until literally today, when what happened was I was talking with one of my coworkers, and she mentioned a story to me about something that happened to her, and I began to talk about this whole spiritual spouse experience. And so I'll just go through a little bit of what I have experienced in this thing. So I do the things to reject the spiritual spouses, and then basically nothing happens. And so I perceive nothing to be happening, right? So I go on with my regular new moon and full moon rituals. Well, as you all may have seen, out of nowhere, I end up getting baptized. Well, that wasn't a part of my plan. Actually, I had said many times I was not planning to get baptized at all. But it was offered to me, you know, and it was something that I took. And as with most things with me, it was like a last resort. Like, it was last minute. I found out at the last minute. Let me put it that way. And so when I found out at the last minute, I had to run around and get stuff together. So I really didn't say anything about it. Plus, I was kind of confused that this happened to me literally at the last minute, because like that's so weird. So I end up going through with that process, and I was very satisfied with my results, right? And so after that, the following weekend, I went to a wedding, and that was a very interesting experience. And so I ended up celebrating Pascha, which is Orthodox Easter, at a Greek Orthodox church, which was fine. It was a nice church and all of that. And so, again, I'm still not really seeing anything happening. Well, because haven't had a lot of dreams, and the ones that I did have, they weren't like super telling of, like things were different. Except, like I mentioned, I did have a dream about being at a party. But while I didn't know why I was at that party at the time, as soon as I woke up, that's when the Hebrew Rose was talking about, this being the coronation for Adam and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, okay, that was the party I was at. That's cool. So I got an answer to that right away. So I've not had any more random dreams about being at parties that I didn't know why I was there. And so I just wanted to point that out, because that's one of the things that I said. Like, maybe you have this this dream about being at a party and you don't know why you're there. Well, I didn't know why I was there at the time, but as soon as I woke up, basically I found out. So that was a confirmation for me of what was going on. So something else I had mentioned was that I didn't know what entity or deity this was that they thought that I belonged to. I now believe it is Azazel. I'm not 100% sure I have not had that actual confirmation, but I'm going to go ahead and put it into the ley line, because if it's somebody else, they need to stand up. But I'm going to believe that it's Azazel, because of all the research I've done on this particular spirit intelligence, this is the one that like sounds like a politician. And I think I mentioned that in the video I made about Yahuwah, and I hadn't really put that all together. Now I did also, which kind of like wrapped it all together for me, is that someone had told me about this girl had a video on TikTok where she was telling people how they could find out who was on their spiritual council. And so I was like, well, I don't know who's on my spiritual council. You know what I mean? So maybe I do need to do something like about that. So I didn't do anything about that at that time. When I went to bed that night, I had a dream, and basically, without going into too much detail, it was revealed to me in the dream that I had to get 3 signatures from 3 different individuals in order to get these people off of my spirit team. And so, I don't know who the first 2 people were. I couldn't remember that part of the dream, but I remember the third person. And the third person happened to be basically an uncle of mine or cousin who had to be removed from my team. And I had to actually physically get him to sign off. And so I was able to do that, and that person was off of my team. Now, the thing that I don't agree about with her TikTok, which is why I didn't post it, is that she was trying to remove everybody from her team. And me personally, you need negatively polarized people, just like you need negatively polarized entities on your team to do things that the positively polarized ones can't. You have to have balance. You don't want to have a team full of all people who are negative or all people that are positive. You want to have some of both. What you don't want is people on your team who can't get on board with what you want. So these people who I had to get signed off, they're not on board with me having any kind of success. They want me to be complete and total failures. And I don't think that's fair to me. And I'm not really going to accept that. So as a result, they got to be removed from my team. And they probably don't want me to be successful because I was pegged as one of these people who needed to have this particular contract so that they could do what they was trying to do with this whole God of DC, if it's Azazel, which it very well could be. Okay, so, and another reason why I think it's Azazel, now that I'm thinking about it, is because when the queen died, she had all of these black birds, black ravens that were protecting her Buckingham Palace, and they all just flew away and they never came back. Well, in the story of in the Apocalypse of Abraham, when he is going to the top of the mountain and Yahuwah shows him, you know, the beauty and the heights and all of this stuff, it is Azazel that comes in as a bird, because they rode the spirits of these birds up to the heights. So, because remember, one was a dove, one was a turtle dove, and then you had Azazel who came in as another kind of bird, a black bird probably doing this crap. So that made me think, oh, this is like Azazel's team. This is how he works through the birds. And if you remember, in 2022, Shavi Zane, everybody is talking about these birds and how they seem to be monitoring people. You know what I mean? And kind of like interjecting in people's conversations and not in a way that they're supposed to. So it's my assessment that, you know, this is how Azazel operates in these little black birds. So that being said, I also believe that the reason why I got baptized the way that I did is because I had pledged my allegiance to Christos, i.e. Jesus the Christ, who, in my assessment, my belief is the one who is the figurehead, the ruler of this earth, the God of this earth, and the Son of God, the Lord and Savior. And so, to me, because I talked about this in my video, I said that you had to, if you, in the Hammurabi Code, right, it says that if you as a wife are greatly embarrassed by your husband, you can be returned to your father's house. And so one of the things that they say to you after you've been baptized is welcome home. And that didn't really register until I re-listened to my video, and I was like, oh my gosh, they welcomed me home back to my father's house. Light bulb. Holy smokes. So my request, like I said, first of all, I was in some type of spiritual contract, 100,000%. Number two, I have a confirmation that these kind of spiritual contracts, this is how they do these for certain people, because like I said, my coworker had an experience which I can identify as similar to my own. Number three, I requested for this thing to be canceled. My request was granted, and then I was returned to my father's house with my dowry intact. And so, what I can say about this is that having gone through this experience of now being separated from whoever this entity is, whatever it's believed that it owed of me, and whoever it was using to stay a figure in my life, I no longer have that as a problem. And as someone who didn't know that I had this problem, when I found out this problem, I immediately tried to figure out a solution. And I may have disturbed some people's peace with my, with my solution, which I deeply regret. But what I can say is that it was successful, and I was successfully returned to my father's house. So if you have been on the fence about this, kind of waiting to see what happened to me before you try to do your own thing or whatever, I highly suggest you go back, listen to my first video. I go through kind of, what they said to say and all of that. Somewhere I have the post if I need to dig it up, but it should be on my community page. It was from sometime in March. You should be able to find it. If not, send me an email or whatever. But I can say that whatever I did, it worked, and I was indeed returned to my father's house, where I can worship in spirit and truth my the God and the ruler of my life. So I feel like it was worth it to bring that information forward. Again, even if it doesn't help anybody and it only helped myself, it for sure helped me. I was in a position where I really did not know what to do next, because I have done so many different things and they just didn't work. You have to do certain things, and it has to be done in a certain way. And then once that thing is done in the way that it needs to be done, that the spirit is guiding you to, then things will change. Like already things, some really, really unbelievable things happened to me today once I was able to make the connection of, oh, that was really, this is why this happened. Because I did, you do so much spiritual stuff, you don't know which thing is the thing that worked. That was the thing that worked for me. And so it's my belief that it will work for a lot of other people if they tried it. So I'm going to again suggest that you, even if you don't know who it is, you're not sure, it doesn't matter. You just clear yourself of that energy. Ensure that you don't have no connection to no other entities by hook or by crook. or whatever, and release yourself from these things and go back to your father's house. And so one thing that also told me is that, like I've been telling people, like, so to me the true religion is orthodoxy. So what was I released back to? I didn't go back to the church where I came from. I went home, to my true home, to my true religious family. And that's another thing that me personally am really happy about, because I wasn't really sure if, I knew what I felt, and what I have been feeling, dealing with the church, but still you can never be sure, because these are all spiritual things. Like, it's not like this stuff is like obvious. So I was not 100% sure that I was in the right place and I was making the right decision. But now, upon being able to put this whole story together and see how this happened, for sure I made the right decision. 100% I was in the right place, and I managed to get there at just the right time to be accepted back into my father's house, get everything done, and be kind of ready to go for this next phase of my life. And so I just wanted to share that story, because sometimes I don't often have like good things to report back that are really clear, cut and dry. I did this spiritual thing and this spiritual thing worked, then this. And so this is kind of going to be like one of my go-to things. Like, even if you're not 100% sure, I'm gonna say, well, did you reject your spirit contracts, like with these whoever that think they got these contracts with you? That's the very first thing you have to do, and then you'll be returned to your father's house. It will be obvious to you where your father's house is. And I'm sure for everyone, it's not going to be orthodoxy. It could be Islam. It could be any number of these church organizations. But I do believe people are going to have to go back into the churches. I've already said this once. I'm saying it again, because in my heart, I know that it's true, because then there's no way these churches are going to be fixed without us going back in them and fixing them. How can someplace be fixed if you avoid it? And maybe a lot of people don't want to deal with this stuff because they don't want the responsibility of going back into these churches and fixing them. However, I'm ready to be about my father's work. I've got my dowry back. I've got my dowry intact. Yeah, I want to go back to my father's house so I can live in the luxury that that dowry will pay for. I never needed a spirit spouse for that. I never needed a spirit spouse for that. My father has cattle on 1,000 hills. Why do I need what this spirit spouse is offering me? It's like they let you get just close, but never close enough. It's like, no, I want to go back and be happy and enjoy the pure light and love that you could only get from being in the house with your family. And so that's what has been done for me. I know it for 100%. Like, y'all watch the whole drama unfold, and I'm here to say that I was sent back to my father's house, and I was welcome home, just like the prodigal son. And so that can't be taken away from me, and I'll never forget this experience, because it really showed me who I was, and also how valuable I am, that these people will go to such extent to co-opt my life, my spiritual nature, for their own vain pursuits. Dang, this video is long. So I just wanted to give an update. I fully believe that our women need to do this. I fully believe our women need to do this. Period. There's no other. There's no next. There's no nothing. We have to cancel these contracts. That process that I did worked. It got the job done. I know that I was sent home to my father's house. I have the proof, because I had to take this whole thing that happened. You know what I mean? And so from here, I anticipate things will only get better. And I want things to get better for you all. So if you're noticing things are not getting better, you know, you've been doing different things and they're just not working, I suggest you cancel these contracts. You have no idea who you're contracted to. I'm still not 100% sure. You know, that haven't been revealed to me, but, you know, this is my assessment until I get some other kind of confirmation that this guy Azazel has just been right here on my hind parts trying to get me to recontract with him, trying to get me to agree to contract with him, sending whoever he can to get me to to contract with him, and he was unsuccessful. And so whoever he reports to, that's not my problem what happens to him. I would say leave me alone and leave me out of it. I have nothing to do with whatever it is you got to do, so you can leave me out of it. So I do hope that this helps someone. I pray that this meets you all well. I want everyone to be successful, and I know that we can and we will if we step up and really do what needs to be done, do the right things. And I feel like for sure this is one of the right things that needs to be done. So shalom everyone, peace and blessings to you, and we'll see you in the next video.